My presentation today is about 7 best practices for UX and UI looking at the design standpoint. And these are going to be the 7 topics that I'm going to cover. The first one is designing for mobile mindset. I know most of you might be a developer, but in my presentation, I want you to take a look at it and look at it as a design perspective. Mobile phones are not a smaller version of the desktop. They have their own specification and limitation. Some of them that you may know, but may not be really using it when it go to design. For example, the screen size. All of us know that it has a smaller screen size. Lower bandwidth versus a desktop. Also using battery, that I'm going to mention that, how it's going to affect in our design. And touch point and gestures that we have it on mobile devices. And we are dealing with orientations. If you pull up your smartphone and compare it with the other person next to you, you can really find 2 smartphones that they look like each other. As you know, for many of us, everything is our watch, music player, our emails and newspaper, GPS, everything. We do have an emotional connection with our smartphones. Yes, emotional connection. There hasn't been any software or technology that we have such an emotional connection to it in the history of technology. In fact, there is a website that gathered all the screenshots of iPhones and want to show that you can't really find 2 iPhones that they all look like each other. It looks like our fingerprint these days. So the way that we decorate our homes or our car, we do the same thing for our smartphones. So that shows that how different we have to approach it versus the desktop. Also, as you know, they do have sensors that they can detect action, movement, acceleration, orientation, proximity, and so many things that we have to take it into consideration when we want to do design for it. We do have more interaction in our mobile devices, and they have sequential and serial aspect. That means doesn't matter which app you take out, you have to go step by step. This is what we don't have in the traditional design on desktop. The other question that most of the time I get, a lot of clients come to us that they say, do I need a responsive web and a mobile web, or should we have app design? Again, I'm going to look at it. If you're a developer, you may know some of these, but I want to look at it in terms of the design and usability. Responsive web design, as you know, that you can design a page and you can use it in different devices with fluid grids, flexible images, and media queries. And you can understand if a site is responsive, but scale it on your desktop and see how structure still stay the same. And many big sites, they use that, like Netflix, Boston Globe, and etc. Benefits, as you know, you design it once, create it once, and it can be resized and used on other smaller mobile devices, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, etc. You only need one browser to check it. And of course, you save time and money for doing it. However, it needs clever design because we want to make sure it's effective and usable in different platforms. If you have a very minimal architecture information like a blog, definitely responsive web is the answer for you. But what are the problems? The problem, of course, is the speed. Because the site is designed for the desktop with a higher bandwidth, when it comes to mobile devices, it's going to be a little slower. The site is designed for keyboard and mouse, but now in the mobile devices, we deal with the fingertips and touches and gestures. And images, as you know, it needs to be scaled down because they are fluid images. And it takes time for a browser, and maybe we don't get the effective result the way that we want it. And it doesn't have a personal feel to it. And we have to make some compromises to the core functionality. For example, there are times that we need steps and steps for the mobile devices that we cannot really design it when we are on a desktop. And maybe sometimes we need to hide the script, content, or an image on the mobile devices, but again, we cannot do it in this platform. And input interaction is another issue because again, we design with the keyboard and mouse, but when users want to enter the information with their fingertips, we do have some problem. Mobile design is a site that especially designed exclusively for mobile devices. Developer and designers, they know the limitation, they know the specification, so they design based on that. Images are optimized, and the result, of course, is going to be the way that it's very controlled. And the same thing for interaction. The touches and gestures are very well designed prior doing it. Like, for example, a sample, like let's say Chase mobile site. Benefits, of course, is faster, and files and images, since they are optimized, downloaded quicker, and the whole purpose of mobile devices is on to-go concept. You want to get the information very quickly. But the problem is they do not have the specific tools when it comes to some activities or process like e-commerce, banking, or some personal interaction to it. However, when we design a mobile app, which is a software application that you have to download from App Store or Android Market, you have different aspects of these problems that we talked about it. A mobile app can be anything, as you know, game, calendar, to-do list, and it focuses only on one function. Since it's personal, you enter your information. Next time then you go to app, it's very quickly. You can tap into it and go to the function that you want. And mobile apps, they have to be written specifically for a mobile device platform. For example, iPhone mobile app not work on Android or vice versa. So why is a business should have a mobile site and app? What's the reason? Why they have to have two of them? Mobile apps are geared towards some functions that mobile site may not be able to do it. For example, Amazon has a mobile site, and also they have an app that's called Flow. Flow has barcode scanning and augmented reality app capability that you can scan a barcode or take a photo of images, books, CD, and compare it in their store. This is not what their mobile site does. So their app is not a duplicate of their mobile version. It has a specific individual tool. Another sample that I want to give you is Chase Bank, their mobile site and their app. When you install their app, you can personalize it, or you can scan your checks, you can deposit, you can transfer funds, you can see your balances, and etc. Let's say a scenario that the user is out of battery on their smartphone, and they don't want to install app on their friend or someone else's smartphone. This is where the mobile site becomes handy, because you can get into the mobile site, log in, get not all the functions, but at least many of those that you can do whatever you needed, and then you log out. So this way you see that you can use both of them in different occasions. And this is one images of that. The problem for mobile apps is compatible with the platform it was created for. That means that if a business wants to work on iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry, they have to create 3 different apps. And you need to install app. And of course, cost is an important issue for it. There's no one answer to that. Do I have 3 of them or 1? It depends on the business that you have. But if you have a really limited budget, of course your site should be responsive. Another designing issue that we have for mobile for mobile devices is orientation. This is where we have to make a design decision. You have to consider a default orientation. The default orientation for smartphones and iPad is portrait. However, landscape is for Android, Windows 8 tablets, and BlackBerry. If you want to work with 2 orientations, you have to make sure that you don't confuse users with putting too many options and elements on non-default mode. For example, this app is a great app, and their default is portrait. But when it comes to landscape, they add so many elements that user kind of get confused which way they cannot see it on the default mode. There are many apps that they have adjustable and flexible orientation, like Flipboard. You can see it on landscape and portrait. There are apps that you can add or subtract elements For example, Apple Mail app on iPad, you have the list of mail on the left side and you see the mail on the right. But when you go to portrait, it can be subtracted, it can tuck in, and then you can overlap it on top of it. Same thing for IMDb. Using the content and orientation is very important UX matter. There are some apps that they use it very well. There are some cookbooks apps, in fact. The one that I want to show you is Betty Crocker app that they implement a very nice way of toggling the orientation with the content. When you got into the app, you see the portrait mode with the recipes. When you click on recipes and go to the landscape, the layout changes in the way that the fonts get larger and bigger for user to read it. You see a photo caption with a nice font underneath that, and also there are UI elements that show user where they are, and easily they can follow to go to different steps. So this is a very well done design for orientation and also layout and design based on what user wants to do. The customized orientation we see it in YouTube portrait mode. That on a portrait mode, they have a feature-rich interface of the video. When you play video on the landscape, it becomes a full screen. And when it ends, it prompts user, it goes back to the portrait and prompts user that you have to quickly switch back to the portrait mode. Here, a screenshot of it that you can see. And we have some locked orientation for, especially for games or interaction books, that you can really change it. The next important decision in UX design is navigation pattern. Designing for navigation is a very important decision that you have to make, because this is where and how you tell your users find the information that you want. Here I want to show some samples, pattern samples, not all of it. But generally speaking, it's better to put the important information on the top of your app and the control button at the bottom of your app. On the left side, you see that what we call search-based navigation. In this pattern, there is no navigation, or there are few items that we present. User has to enter information and then start from there. On the right side, you see listed item, which is very popular. As you see, there are items that you can put it. The arrows tells user, if it's like a pointing down, that you can find more information in the same page. Or if you have plus sign or arrows that pointing to the other side, that there are information in the next or other pages. Vertical navigation is not very common in application and mobile design, and of course is obvious because the default mode for most smartphones are portrait. But here are a few that I wanted to show you that still you can do it. On the left side, we have items that I think, because the user click on it and they see the changes of the photo really close and next to it, it can help users. And on the right side, we do have a transparent navigation bar that gives we can have more items, but at the same time, we can see the background image too. Horizontal navigation, or what we call tabs, are 90% of mobile design and apps are using it. That means we have permanent tabs at the bottom, and then we have other layers, multi-layers, if you click on one of them. You can compare that to the drop-down in the desktop. And also you can put you can only have one layer, but you can add a scroll bar, like arrows that show user you can scroll left and right to find more information. If you have, in a limited space, using icons very useful for the space. You can scroll it, you can have many of it and scroll up and down, or you can have fixed of those icons in the page. Grid-based navigation is similar to icon-based, but we don't use icon. We can use anything. We can use photos, we can use fonts, we can use color. We can present it on the same visual level, or we can highlight some with the color background, or we can font colors, so we can give priority to some elements rather than the other. Left side, this navigation, which is a sliding navigation, is one of my favorite. This simple design, UX design, there are over 50 information that hidden in these this design navigation. On the first page, you see 5 sliding pages that coming, and they have text about it. Then we see a menu on the right, top right, that has, if you click on it, you see a list of different items underneath that. And you have 2 sets of items at the bottom that they hide other information that you want. But at the same time, even though there are many information in this page, is not busy. It's very clean and clear. On the right side, we have circular navigation, which is not very popular. It's popular in basically in music industry. When we come to mobile and tablet, we have to deal with another design decision, which is gesture. We need to have a plan and design for it. We have 2 formats. One includes one we're using fingers, like pointing, tabbing, pinching, and sliding, which most of you know about it. The other one is physical movement, including hand movement, blowing, or shaking. In Al Gore interactive book on chapter 4, you can blow the windmill and it works. It does. In Mac Flutter, you can move your arm and stop music, pause it, or play it. There is an app called Tea Round app. You can basically to making tea, and in part of the process, you have to shake your smartphone. It's very nicely done, not just because the concept of making tea, but also with the way that they placed it in the process is very, very well designed, well placed. As you know, wherever you go, you see icons in mobile and tablet and these devices. Why these are so important? Because they have they're a quick and easy way to pass large amount of information in a concise and simple way. They can carry emotional and non-verbal message, and they are built on international and language-free connection. They are more like a traffic guides, signs that they can guide you to different directions, and they are based on codification system. As you know, in codification system, in our case, we can place a visual code, like it can be an idea, action, story, object, in a visual code, in a visual icon. And the receiver has the capability to decode it and understand the message that we want to tell them. There are 2 formats of icons. One is international and another one is conventional. International, everybody understands it. Like, for example, flame means fire, home means where to live. But Statue of Liberty may mean freedom here, but in other places you may find other icon to present it that. So when you want to design for your app or site, you have to make sure understand the differences between these 2, and know color, form, shapes has the meaning for different places and areas. And whatever you do, you have to stay consistent, and also know these are the component of your design. For example, let's decode this icon. We see black and white photo and the ragged edges, so it tells us it's an old photo. And then we see a shoebox, so that means organizing old photos. So and also popcorns, of course, is going to movies. So you have to understand how you have to place these icons to each other to the easiest way to convey message to your user. There are some standard icons, especially for smartphones and apps. Don't reinvent the wheel unless you have to. For example, bookmarks, favorite, download, everybody knows this, so you don't have to put label underneath that. But if you want to design something new, you have to have a good reason for it. The last part that I want to talk about is user interaction, microcopy, and input design. There are many occasions that we want user to enter information for us. And in fact, these are the call to action pages, and they have a value for us. Have in mind, the screen is very small for smartphones, and always know about the 44 pixel rule. 44 pixel is the size of the fingertip, and also is the height of the button in Apple Calculator app. So whatever you design, it has to be larger than 44 pixel. And make sure to put the burden on the shoulder of your designer and coder rather than your users, because if you make it harder for them, if you ask them to enter information, it's harder rather than selecting them. For example, if they can go to a Rolodex and select something or push a button or slide something, is by far better than asking them to type in something. So whatever you can, ask them to select rather than typing. And there are different ways to do it. The last thing is about like designing microcopies and notification. As you know, notifications are the content and messages that you send to users. I give you two scenarios of you are sitting at your breakfast table, you hear the message comes to your cell phone or smartphone. The first one is telling you that there is an accident in the way that to your work, and then you get happy because now you know you have to change the route. The second one tells you about sales, about an item that you don't care in a store that you don't know about it. So the second one is really gonna frustrate you. You have to make sure that whatever in notification messages are, don't have a sales pushy content in it. And also the spam language like win now, limited time, these are, people know about it and they don't really like to hear that. And let them personalize the message as much as they can. When they want to get it, how they want to get it, what kind of message they want to get it. More they can filter it and personalize it, the better result that you get. And consider that these notifications are part of your brand. The way that you approach your logo, newsletter, your banner, you have to make sure that these have the branding value. Just because they are short and simple, that doesn't mean they cannot be creative. And the message should be short but valuable, something that they really needed the moment that they receive that. And always make sure to get feedback from users, because once is not enough. As you go, you have to make sure there are what the feedback you get from your users. And when you study clients in the app behavior, it tells you they're buying, reading, even though filtering some messages that they want, it tells you something about them. And listen to it and try to respond to that. And the last thing, when they relocate, make sure you understand, send them messages, but don't, annoy them with things that, again, are not relevant to them. These are some samples. These are not all for push notifications. They are for coach marks or other things that some of them are more designy, some of them are simple, or like in this one, you can see even though they put the brand in that. Or here, even we have many coach mark here. This still is not very busy, and this one is more minimal. So these are basically quick approach to these 7 important topics. If you have any question, please let me know. And a little bit about me, I forgot to introduce myself. I am a creative director of Design for Future, is a creative communication, and also I'm a publisher of Designs for UX. That's a blog that I publish and give some free elements for user interface. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.